Hey everybody, welcome back to the Build with ACSS series. We are working on the Zendesk.com homepage, and this is part 3. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. We have one agenda item for today, and that is this synced slider situation going on right here. The reason we're only tackling this today is because this is one of those sections that you just know. You know as a developer, this is technical. I might get bogged down here. If things go wrong, if things go south, right, we could easily waste hours on this. Hopefully that does not happen. Hopefully it goes nice and smooth, but we know it's going to be a challenge, right? And so it's one of those things where you just want to check the box and be able to move on with your life. You don't want to tackle too much. This is getting this done is a good accomplishment in itself. And you should just be okay with getting this kind of thing done and then moving on to something else, maybe a different project or whatever. Let's get this box checked because we don't want it hanging over our heads. So let's talk through it. You know it's a sync slider, number one. I know a lot of people are gonna ask, how do you know this is a synced slider, that's what we need to do? Well, let me refresh the page and I want you to watch it behave, okay? And just take note of some things. Number one, look at this right here. It's got an animated progress bar on these little tab looking things down here. That's challenge number one. It auto plays. And the auto playing matches this progress bar. Obviously, it wouldn't look good if it didn't, but it's just from a development perspective, you have to make sure that happens. So our animation speed, our autoplay speed has to match our progress bar speed, okay? And then if you look at the behavior, like the content area right here, watch this area versus this area when the sliding happens. Notice, let's see if it goes. Oh, I think I'm on top of it, so it's like paused or something. Okay. Notice that they go separately. It's like content, media. Like they go at the same time, but they go separately. It's not like one block of things moving at once, okay? It's the stuff in here moving separately from the stuff in here moving. So that lets you know this is a slider right here, and this is a slider right here, two separate sliders. And then this is a slider also, but it's a slider that is used as the navigation. You don't actually see this third slider slide, but it is a slider and they're all linked together. And so again, these are the technical challenges that we have to overcome. Now, in terms of structure, I want to group all of these things together because I think it makes sense to have this as one whole entire component, and we'll call this a review slider. Even though it's 3 sliders, we're gonna call it a review slider. And then this slider, we'll call this the media slider. This will be the content slider. This will be the nav slider. So, and those are child elements of the review slider block or the review slider component, okay? So we have 3 separate sliders. Now, to make matters a little bit more complicated, I do feel like this, not the slider side of this, but the content side of this little block could be extracted and used anywhere else as like a block quote kind of situation across the website. And so I personally would handle this as a separate block in BIM. This will not be named as a child block of the review slider because it doesn't only have to live with the review slider. It could live on its own anywhere we want it to live. Therefore, it needs its own block name. It's not going to be treated as a child of the review slider in terms of how we name the classes. I think that's very important to be able to look at situations and determine, okay, what's a true child? And what's a block that can live on its own somewhere else? And then name things accordingly. Okay, let's go ahead and hop into the builder. I'm just gonna give this a little refresh. So we're starting from scratch here. We've got this section right here, this little container above, this goes above take your support personally, right? So it's gonna go right in this container. I'm not a fan of hijacking the container and using it as the block element, right? I want to put a block inside of that container, and we are going to call that block review slider. And right now I'm just organizing in the structure panel. so that I can auto BIM all of this. I'm just going to get all the stuff we need added. Well, most of the stuff we need. I don't think we're going to be able to do it all, but we're going to add most of the stuff we need, and then I'm going to auto BIM it, and then we'll manually maybe do some other smaller things that need to happen. And because we're using sliders and these things need slides and they have content in the slides, it's kind of a complicated situation, right? So we're just going to take our time. We're going to manage it as best we can, and we're going to keep marching towards the end conclusion, okay? So we've got a review slider, which is our block component. What I need is a top, okay, for this two-up layout right here, this two-column layout. And I need a bottom, which is going to house the navigation. So just name them top and bottom. That's quite easy. So we're just going to throw two more blocks in. So block. I'm going to open this up. This one is going to be called top, and this one is going to be called bottom. All right, we'll go ahead and save our progress there. Inside of the top, what do we need? Well, I need a block to house the left side, and I need a block to house the right side. We will call that a content wrapper and a media wrapper. Okay, so let's put in two blocks in the top section. This is going to be the content wrapper. This is going to be the media wrapper. It's very important in situations like this to not just throw things all over the page and start doing classes and get your structure down, get your structure panel organized, make this a logical process as you go. And usually that will create less confusion for you as you're trying to flesh this all out. So you have a top section, a content wrapper, a media wrapper, and a bottom section. Inside the content wrapper, we're going to go ahead and throw in a slider. We're going to be using the frames accessible slider component for this. For those of you who think frames is just a wireframing and development and pre-design kit, you're going to see it's way much more than that. Way much more. It's much more. It's way more than that. It's way more than that. And you know, the accessible component library that we have inside of frames, of which you're going to see one of those components right now, the frame slider. Just the library alone, in my opinion, is worth the cost of frames beyond everything else that you get. But this is a side of frames that a lot of people don't even know exists, and they've never even seen it. So you're going to kind of see it get put to use today. Okay, so in the content wrapper, I'm going to add the frames slider component right there. And then in the media wrapper, I'm going to add another slider component. Remember, these are three separate sliders that we have to link together. Okay, and then in the bottom, we're going to throw in our slider, frame slider component right there. And let's open these, and you can see the three sliders. Now, in the content wrapper, we need to name this slider. I think it should be called the content slider. Remember, these are all children of the review slider. So it's going to say review slider, content slider, okay? Under here, frame slider, we need this is going to be called the media slider. And this is going to be called the nav slider. Now, I don't need, it comes with 3 slides in it already. I don't need those. I just need the first one. Okay, and I don't really need what's inside of that, the heading, but maybe we'll keep it for now. Let's just, because I want to auto BIM all of this. So I want to get classes on everything so we can just get to styling. So in the content slider, this first of all does not need to be called slide 1. It needs to be content slide. So we have a content slide inside of a content slider. That makes sense. We have a media slide inside of the media slider. That makes sense. And we have a nav slide inside of the nav slider. I think that makes sense. Nav slider. Okay. Now, what would we call this? We would call this the nav slide. I guess we can call it heading. Okay. Nav heading. Let's call it nav heading. There isn't going to be a media heading. There's just going to be media. So let's remove the heading and let's add an image. This is going to be our media, okay? And then in our content slider, there will be a content heading. But remember that what we're going to put in this slide is actually a block in itself. So I'm actually going to delete that, and we'll put something in that situation in just a moment, okay? I think I've got most of everything structure-wise planned out here. So on review slider, I'm gonna hit the auto BIM button and it's gonna bring up what it's gonna name all of my classes. And you can kind of see here, we've got a review slider top, review slider bottom right here. In the top, we have a content wrapper and a media wrapper. In the content wrapper, we have a content slider and a content slide. In the media wrapper, we have a media slider and a media slide and media. And in the bottom, we have a nav slider, a nav slider, and then a nav heading. This does not look right here. So what's going on down here? Nav slider, nav slide. There we go. Okay, let's close that. Nav, see, we caught our little mistake there. Nav slide and nav heading. All right, let's go ahead and auto BIM all of these. So I just open the panel and I say apply classes. And there we go. Everything now has a BIM class ready to be styled. Absolutely fantastic. So when you plan out your structure accordingly, it's like click of a button, bam, there's all your classes. Now, inside of this content slide, we have to create our own new block, which is this block quote thing right here. We'll call that a review block quote, maybe. That'll be its own little component. We don't have to do that right now, though. I just want to put in a heading again, just some sort of dummy content to sit there. And I want to start getting our structure correct. So in our top, we need that to be a grid. We're going to do like a 3-2 grid, and that is going to be in our top. So review slider top, set the display to grid, and we're going to say grid 3-2. At least that's what we're going to start with. I'm just guessing. We're also going to throw a grid gap in there. So there's a gap between our two sliders, okay? It looks like I haven't chosen any media. It would be helpful if we chose some media. So let's throw this girl in here. Awesome. I don't see her yet, which might just be a rendering thing with bricks. We'll see. Or we've met our first challenge. And then nav slide, nav heading. I think we're all good there. Okay. So let's see what's going on with our nav slider. Let's go with width 100% on this and see if this can take up the full, there we go. That's going to take up the full width down below. So if we look on the front end and see what we see. There we go. We have a content slider ready for action. We have a media slider ready for action. Then we have a navigation slider below those that is also ready for action. All right, so first thing I want to do is go to each of these sliders. Notice that they come with navigation arrows, right? So you can navigate through, and we don't need those, okay? Just point blank, you don't see that happening on the Zendesk.com homepage, so we just don't need them. We need to go turn those off. So I'm gonna go to my content slider. I'm gonna go to the front options panel right here. In fact, I'm gonna go to controls, and I'm going to get rid of the icon size, get rid of using navigation arrows, and remove the pagination dots. All right, so we're gonna hit save. Let's just go kind of step by step. So if I review that on the front end, look at this. We have a slider with no controls, which is like, well, how are we gonna make that slide? Okay, we'll get to that. Remember, this down here is our navigation slider. It's actually going to control these two sliders right here. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is click on media slider. I'm gonna go do the same thing, turn off the controls and hit save. Let's go refresh on the front end. Now things are starting to shape up a little bit. I'm going to go down to our nav slider down here. I'm going to turn off the controls. The slides are the actual controls, okay? Use navigation arrows. Let's get rid of that. Okay, nice. Save. And, oh, we need to get rid of the pagination dots. All right, save and refresh. Awesome. Now things are looking much cleaner, all right? We're still not where we want to be, but we are making progress. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to tackle this situation of the height of this slider right here. If we look in options, we're going to see that the fixed slide height is set to 50 VH by default. I'm going to go ahead and change that to auto, and then we'll refresh on the front end. And now you see we have a nice small little strip down here. And then I think what we need to do, we might want to tackle that same thing on these sliders here. But I don't know yet. I haven't decided yet, so we'll figure that out as we go. What I am noticing is that this bottom is touching the top. So I need to go to the review slider parent and add a row gap of content gap. And that's gonna make a gap between our top and our bottom so that those things aren't touching each other. All right, we are good to go. And the next thing I want to do is probably start building our little card situation. So again, this is going to be its own separate block. We're going to name this review block quote or block quote review. block quote review. We've got a review slider. Maybe we should just call it review block quote, just to keep things nice and consistent. So inside of our content slide, we need to get rid of the heading and we need to add a block. This is going to be our, and we can auto BIM this still. I'll show you how. This is going to be our review block quote right here. And then what do we need component wise? We need text. We're not going to use a heading here. We need text. We need a div and a div. And these need to be inside of a div. So like these things are grouped together. That's a div. Then you have a separate div for this. And then you have a media wrapper for this, because it's just kind of standard practice. I've gone over that multiple times. All right, so we almost need, and I'm thinking if this should have a wrapper or not. I think for scalability, maintainability purposes, to not run into any limitations, we do want a wrapper. So we're gonna go with a quote wrapper. We're gonna go with a footer. We're gonna go with a, what do we call that? The site, we'll call that the site wrapper, because in HTML, this is a site element. Basically, it's a CITE, right? And then a media wrapper. And my brain cannot remember all of this. So I'm going to start with a quote wrapper and a footer. That's what I'm going to start with. All right, so let's go back to the builder. In our review block, we're going to add 2 blocks. All right, the top block is going to be the quote wrapper. Quote, if I can type, quote wrapper. And then the bottom is going to be the footer. Okay. And because this is going to end up being a block quote, we can actually make that a literal footer. Inside of our quote wrapper, we need our text for our quote. That's a text element, and that we're going to call that quote. Okay, quote right there. And then in our footer, we need 2 blocks. Okay. Yes, 2 blocks. We're going to call it a site. Let's go ahead, block. All right, and we are going to call this a site wrapper. We're going to call this a logo wrapper. Okay, perfect. Inside of our logo wrapper, we need an image. All right, so we're just going to add an image in there, and we'll call that image our logo. In our site wrapper, we're going to have a text and a text. And this is going to be the person's name and their title. Okay. So let's go text. I'm just adding 2 of those. Open the structure panel. I want to make sure you guys can see all of this in the structure. Yes, you can. Okay. So this is going to be the name, and this is going to be the title right here. And that is site wrapper. Awesome. Hey, I get it. There's a lot going on here, but this is kind of what it calls for, okay? Like a 3-piece sync slider situation. It's not an easy thing. A lot of devs avoid this because they just don't even know how to approach it, right? They wouldn't even propose it. If somebody hands them this and it's like, hey, we need to build this, their head explodes. This is why we're doing these tutorials, so you guys can learn how to accomplish stuff like this and how to think about it and approach it in a logical, efficient manner, how to build it in a scalable, maintainable, accessible manner. This requires a lot of different technical skills. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, if I just collapse this, you can see I have a review, what is this called? Review block quote right here. I'm just gonna hit auto BIM, and it's only going to handle the children, right? It's not going to mess with anything else that I've done. It's only going to auto BIM the children. I'm going to go ahead and hit apply classes. And now all of these things are their own separate component that I can extract and use anywhere else I want on the website. Okay, so here is our review block quote. Let's see how we need to start styling this. Right here is the quote text, and I need that to, it looks like, be like the H2 size, okay? And this is where automatic CSS and variables come in so handy. First of all, I'm gonna make this a block quote. So we're gonna go custom block quote. Actually, I'm sorry, the text is not the block quote. The entire review block, I believe, is the block quote. Yes, I believe that's what we want to do. So we'll say display HTML tag of custom, and then we'll say that this is a block quote. Now, block quote gives you default styling, okay? We have to go remove that right off the bat. Just get rid of that default styling. So the padding that it added on the left, let's remove that. Let's go back to 0. It's also added a border on the left-hand side. So we're gonna set that to 0. And that should be enough. That should be enough. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the quote text. I'm going to go to typography. I want this to be the size of my H2. So I'm just going to put in my H2 variable, and now it is the size of my H2. The only problem here is I want to also set the font family over to, what is it? Social or feature? It's feature, okay? I also want to set the font weight, it looks like, to 700. And then I want to get the line height under control. So line height 1.1 maybe. That looks about right. And actually this looks like they did not use the H2 size. Looks like we got font size 48 pixels. It looks like they just went kind of rogue with it. So what we're going to do, because we also want this to be responsive, we're going to do H2. And we're going to do divided by 1.4 or something like that. We're just going to see, let's actually see what that computes to on the front end. Inspect and computed font size 45 pixels. Okay, so random guess got us like insanely close. And I think we're pretty good on that. Okay, we want to grab the actual text here. All right. Oh, I can't actually. All right. I'm going to have to inspect that. It's not letting me select it because I'm interacting. Look what they've done. They've actually put this block quote in. But the thing is they didn't include this, which is, you can have a site tag. Well, so they put their site tag after their block quote. Let's go to Mozilla block quote. I believe the site goes inside of the block quote, if I'm not mistaken. Block quote, block, yeah, it does. Look, they have a footer, and then they have a site tag inside of the block quote. I'm fairly sure that that's how it's supposed to be. The site tag is not supposed to be outside of the block quote. We can look into that more, but I've always seen it inside, so that's the way that we're going to do it. We're going to do it inside. Okay, what else do I need? Now, I need our footer situation. Remember, our footer goes side by side. We can use flex for this. We could use grid for this. I think I'm going to go ahead and use, I'll use grid to start out with and see if that causes any problems. So our footer is going to be display grid. Grid template columns is going to be auto min max 0 1 FR. Or yeah, I think so. Okay. So that's going to make the first column an auto width, which is just going to be the width of this content right here. And then this side is the min max 0 1 FR. We'll see. I'm just, some of this is theory right now. All right. Grid 1, we're going to put a gap of content gap on here. Awesome. And that should put our site and our logo side by side, which I don't even see our logo right now. Let's go ahead and select an image. And I don't even know who Khan Academy. I don't even think I've saved any of those. Let's save image as Khan Academy logo. Okay. Let's get this put in. So we're going to go to downloads. Did that not go into my downloads? Where did that go? Can I drag it from there? Oh, I can drag it from there. Fantastic. Okay. Let's put that in. I'm still not seeing it. Site name. All right. Let's put in the person's name. So Lori Leduc. Lori Leduc. HTML tag on this is going to be our span, I believe is the best way to go here. Head of community support. So head of community support. Oh, there's our image right there. Okay, name. We're going to go with font size, text S on this, most likely. The title is going to be text S, most likely. Our name, we're going to go line height 1.1. We're going to go with font weight of 600, 700, something in there. Let's take a look at what we've got going on down here. That looks to be correct. Okay. But it's a different font. What font are they using there? Let's inspect this. Why is that not our normal body font? It is AB, it is social. Okay. Font family. Okay. All right, that makes sense. All right, so font family, social. Okay, good. So we've got that situation under control now. We want the logo to be centered. So on our grid right here, we're gonna align items to the center. That takes care of that. We're gonna go up to our review block quote in general, and we're gonna content gap that so that those things are not touching each other. Looks like that's what they've got. They actually have what looks to be like a content gap divided by 2. It's kind of like half of our normal content gap. All right, this is all starting to look really good. Let's go ahead and grab that block quote text now, which I forgot to do earlier. All right, Zendesk in powerful ways, yada, yada, yada. Put that in, perfect. Let's put in our little quotes. Awesome. This is going to be our P, which is, by the way, inside of a block quote. Okay, so I think that's fine. Let's review that. Man, all right. Let's see how it looks compared to here. I think that their font weight is a little bit toned down, but you know what? Look, I don't have another one loaded, like a 600 or and I'm not going to go through all that nonsense. I would, if it was a client site, I would. But for the purpose of the tutorial, the difference between 600 font weight and 700 font weight, that's not what we're worried about here. We're worried about the big fish. We're frying the big fish, okay? Let's see. How else are we looking? We need this little headline up here. I think that's what's throwing off our section here. It's not looking like theirs. So what we want to do, let's see how we want to tackle this. Review slider in our container above our review slider, we're going to put a heading. This is going to be our H2 heading. All right, switch that up to an H2. And this is going to say perfect the customer experience. Awesome. Okay, save, refresh. This is what we've got, and this is what they've got. Now, clearly, everything's looking really good, except for we don't have a navigation slider down here. That's kind of what's tying everything together. I would also say, is there a gap in here? It looks like there is. Yeah, there is. I don't think I want to zero that gap out. Maybe we do. Maybe we do. Okay, we'll go with that for right now. But I don't want to do that on the ID level. We need to figure out what this container is here. Actually, we can. It doesn't really matter all that much. This is just a regular section heading. There's nothing special about this. Okay. Yeah, we can just go gap 0 there and be done with it. All right. I like how we're progressing here. What we need is some navigation now. So personalize all conversations. So I'm going to come down to the bottom, nav slider, nav slide, nav heading. Personalize all conversations. And I'm noticing right off the bat that this nav heading needs to be the other font. So it needs to be social. Awesome. And it looks to be like text S as well. Maybe a little bit bigger than text S. Is it our M text size? It looks to be a little smaller than normal. See, their normal text size is this. Maybe it's the same. We've got 20 pixels as the font size, which we had as our body. And this one, font size is 18. See, this is the challenge with designs that just things aren't super consistent, right? Why is it just a little tiny bit smaller? So what we can do, we can account for it, no problem. Like I can just divide text M by 1.1 and in fact like 1.05 maybe. Okay, nav slide. We're going to duplicate the nav slide, duplicate the nav slide, duplicate the nav slide. So I've got 4 slides. I want to go to my nav slider right away and just say, hey, I want to say visible slide count. Show me 4. Show me 4 of those. All right. Perfect. I like that. Let's see nav slide right here. Everything is centered in our slide and we want it to actually be aligned to the left. So let's do typography, text left aligned. All right, we're gonna have to inspect this and see why that's not wanting to go left. Okay, so we have an those are H3s. I don't even know if those need to be H3s. So this is the review slider, nav slide. Align items to the center. Okay. Looks like there's a base. Yeah, we've got height 40 rim. We can take that off. There's just some default styling in here so that the slider by default looks like the way that a slider would look. We can just take some of this ID level styling off. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Okay. Awesome. And now what I want to do is duplicate those. Now that I've got that situation solved, we can duplicate the slides. Okay, we'll go back to the front end, and there we go. So now we've got 4 different slides here. Let's refresh the builder because it's having trouble keeping up with us. Let's go back down. Awesome. Let's see if we can link them together. And now that I'm seeing this definitely needs to be not content gap divided by 2. It just needs to be content gap. All right, let's save that there. Let's get these sliders synced. So I'm going to go to our nav slider right here. And I am going to go down to controls. And I'm going to say sync with other sliders, okay? And we're going to create a name that all of these sliders use. And we're just going to call it review slider, okay? So review slider, save, awesome. We're going to go, and I'm going to say, while we're here, use slider for navigation. See how that's a feature built in to the frame slider component? All right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my content slider, and I'm going to say control, sync with other sliders, review slider. Okay, these are all, basically we've defined like a family of sliders called review slider, and that's what we're calling everything so that they'll all be linked together. Now I'm going to go to the media wrapper, go to the media slider, sync with other sliders, review slider, save, okay? And now let's refresh, and let's just see. All right, this one's moving. We need to see if those will move. And I think in order for those to move, they're going to need additional slides. So we have content slide, review block, content slide, duplicate, duplicate. And then in our media slider, we need media, media. And then I'm going to go ahead and change the media in here so that this can have a different image. I'm waiting on Brix's controls here to load. Okay, there we go. Open, I don't care who is who. And we're all, by the way, we're hoping in the end that this is all going to be query loop compatible as well, so that we can actually use query loops to populate this entire synced slider situation. All right, so we're going to save that. We're going to go in here on content slide 2, and we are going to change the quote for content slide 2. Let's go to Zendesk. Let's go here. Let's inspect. Grab this block quote. That's why you guys see, like, this is not an easy thing to tackle. And you can see why we just want to get this done. We don't want to worry really about anything else. Okay. And I've only put in 4 things for each one. Let's go content slide, content slide, content slide. Let's do 4. Let's make sure there's 4 medias. Okay, perfect. And we really need to make sure that there's different media. It's actually easier to work with a query loop in a lot of these cases because you don't have so many things going on that you're trying to manage like statically. Hey, look what we've got, my friends. We've got a sync slider situation happening here. Now, what is the problem that we see? The bottom piece should not move, right? It should allow us to click and the other 2 things should move, but the bottom piece should not move when we interact with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the bottom nav slider, and we're going to look at our options here. And under slider type, instead of loop, which is the default, you see it's looping through, I want it to be slide. If it's slide and you're showing a visible count of 4 and there's only 4 items, it shouldn't go anywhere, right? It's like there's nothing to slide through. It's not looping, so there's nothing to slide through. It's stuck, more or less. So let's go ahead and hit save and refresh. And hey, look what we've got, okay? So now the nav is not, now there's no interaction styling right now, okay? So that's a problem. We can't really see that we're clicking on it. But we're making good progress. We have a synced slider situation happening now. I want to go ahead and look at our, before we get any further and deeper into this, we got to make sure our DOM situation is not out of control. So, for accessibility purposes, things like this. So I'm going to go to the accessibility tab. I see that the slider tag is a div. Then we have an unordered list. And then we need list items, okay? So I'm actually going to go in here. And we're going to make these LIs, okay? So LI, every nav slide should be an LI, okay? And then what we should do, because this is a nav slider, is make the parent a nav. So if I go into nav slider, that's why there's a slider tag right here. We can make this a nav tag because this is technically a navigation for this whole slider situation. And then I'm going to refresh and we're going to inspect our DOM and we're going to see if we're correct. Okay. All right. So look at this. We've got a nav tag. Inside of our nav, we've got a div, which is fine. Okay. Inside of that, we have an unordered list. And inside of our unordered list, we have list items. So all of our HTML is looking good right now. And I want you to notice, technically these are like buttons, right? I want you to notice that with our default slider in frames, because again, this is built to be an accessible slider, it has role equals button. Why? Because we told it this is a navigation slider and it knows that those need to be buttons. So it put role equals button. It preserves the list-based HTML, but puts role equals button so that those basically more or less behave like buttons, okay? All right, that's the situation going on there. So what we want to do is I want to come to nav slide right here, and I want to make sure that the cursor is a pointer. So we're going to search for cursor because there is a cursor layout right here. We're going to make it a pointer. All right. And we're going to hit save and refresh. And that's going to give me the little hand when I hover over these items right here. All right. So that's really good. I'm trying to think next what we need to worry about. Like what's the next biggest piece to this puzzle? I think the, we're not going to do the autoplay situation yet. We're going to do this progress bar. And we do have a default progress bar, but it's not really designed to work like this. What I want you to notice here is the progress bar kind of exists as a faint bar at the top, right? When nothing's happening to it. Let me refresh and show you. So then it looks like it's filling up, right? That's kind of the effect that it gives. And so in your mind, you should know we need two bars. There's a bar that just exists. That's this bar right here at all times. That exists at all times. And it's a light bar. And then we have a dark bar that only exists on, can we stop this right here? Okay. Inspect. It looks like that's the active slide. Okay. The active slide is what fills. Yes. Okay. So if you look on our slider, let's refresh this. Let's go to this one right here. So I'm going to inspect. All right. And we're going to go to the LI. Notice it says right here, can I zoom in? Is active. Okay. There's also a is visible that we can use. These are classes that are on here by default that we can use that basically label the state that the item is in. So we have is active. Can be used. We have is visible can be used. I believe there's an is next. Yep, look, is next. And there's an is previous if we need that. All right, let me click this one. And so you'll see this one gets is previous. This one gets is active. This one gets is next. So these are all statuses that we can use to style things and influence the behavior, okay? First thing is first, let's get all slides to have that top bar, that faint top bar. And I just know because we need to kind of animate this and we need effectively the two bars to live right on top of each other and always be the exact same dimensions and always have the exact same positioning and dimensions, right? Did I just say that? My brain's going 1,000 miles a minute right now, guys. We are knee deep. We are knee deep in this right now, okay? There's a lot to think about. There's a lot to consider. I'm going to use pseudo elements. That's the approach that we're going to initially take. And let me get some water here. Look, I look like that. Again, I go back. I love the movie Airplane. I'm sorry. At least I loved it when I was a kid. I haven't seen it in a long time. But I love the pilot in Airplane when he's just fucking sweating and it goes back to him and he's just drenched. And every time it cuts back to him, there's just more and more and more water. I love it. That's kind of the situation we're in right here. But it's okay. We're going to land the plane. Guys, we're going to land the plane. All right. So let's go ahead and nav slide. That's what it needs to be on, okay? All right, let's go to cuss. Here we go. So we're gonna go root. First of all, we're going to go root and make sure that these are position relative, because we're going to absolutely position these progress bars. So root, we're going to use a before and an after. So they're going to share styles, some styles, right? What are they going to share? Well, every pseudo element has to have a blank content that we're going to use. They're all going to be width 100%. They're all going to be a height of what I'm going to call progress height. So I'm going to go up here and call this progress height. And we're going to start with like 10 pixels or something. I don't even know what it, no, that seems too, no, like three pixels. So height of progress height. All right. We've got a width and a height. We've got dimensions. We're off to a good start. Honestly, I don't know that these need to be position absolute. I don't know. I was just assuming that. Maybe they don't. Let's take off the position relative because we may not need that for right now. All right. What is the color of this going to be? That's what's going to change. Okay. We're going to go background color of progress color. Can never really hurt. And then we're going to set a default of basically a fallback on that. Our fallback is going to be black trans 10, right? We said we wanted the ultra light version. Okay. Now, they both need to be at the top, right? They actually both need to be top left. So we're going to do inset block start of 0. Remember, we said they both need to have the same exact position. Inset inline start of 0, that's left. And then just say position absolute. And then we definitely do want to go position relative up here. Save, refresh. Now both bars are on top of each other. I think what I can still do is go padding top, which is padding inline start, and say 1M. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's block start. 1M, save, refresh. There we go. Now, I have two bars that are trans 10 on top of each other. So really what we're looking at is 20% black transparency because it doubles up. But it's okay because the top bar is actually going to be, which is the after, right? So the root after is our top bar. And we're going to say progress color on this bar is our action color. I know that's not what they used, but I want this to be the action color, right? Okay. Excellent. This is why I used a locally scoped variable a minute ago right here, so that I could just hijack it and change its color for anything. Now, if we did a width of like 50%, you'll see this, how they're sitting on top of each other. You guys see that? Okay, you with me so far? All we need to do is animate this bar, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come down. We're going to, let me type in cuss up here. That'll bring this up higher for us. We're going to go add keyframes, and we're going to call this progress, okay? And then for our keyframes, we're going to do a start of 0%, and then we're going to do a finish of 100%. And then in here, we are going to go with our width. What are we going to animate? We're going to go with width 0, and then 100% should be width 100%. Now I'm going to stick with just normal words right now, and hopefully I remember to change these to logical properties in just a minute. I can take off the width here, and I can say animation, and we're going to say progress, 10 seconds, linear, and maybe that's all we need. Refresh. Look at what we've got. Okay. Let's count their animation speed. So we're going to refresh 1, 1000, 2, 1000, 3, 1000, 4, 1000, 5, 1000, 6, 1000, 7, 1000, 8, 1000, 9, 1000, 10, 1000, 11, 1000. Okay, we're just going to go with 10 seconds. 10. Oh, I've already done 10 seconds. Okay, good guess, I suppose. Good guess. All right. It actually feels a little long. Now, how many milliseconds would that be? Once again, y'all got me doing math, dog. Like this, you got to stop with this nonsense. All right, 10 milliseconds is how many? No, 10 seconds is how many milliseconds? Is it like 100,000? I don't want to embarrass myself here. 10,000. My gosh, see? Don't ask me. if you're new here, if you don't follow my other channel, Geary.co, I've said many, many, many times, I have this affliction where I can do math. Only if I'm by myself though. If other people are watching me do math, can't fucking do math. Can't do it. Don't even ask me to. I can't do it, okay? So 10,000 milliseconds is 10 seconds. And let's save. Let's make sure we didn't break anything. No, we didn't. Okay, we're all good. Now, the reason I'm doing milliseconds here is because our slider for autoplay is going to ask for this value in milliseconds. And I also don't think, I've asked Waji, I don't think you can use a variable. I've tried it before. It doesn't work. So we kind of got to stick with raw values here. But we've got this animating, guys. Now, the problem is, I mean, look at this. What is the obvious problem? They're all animating at the exact same time. So we only want the isActive slide to animate, okay? So root after progress color animation, we want to say root isActive, add the after element only to that one, right? Save, refresh, and now only the active slide gets the slider. Now let's see what's going to happen next. It's not auto playing right now, so I think nothing is going to happen. Oh boy. So now we're in a situation where I think we have to get the autoplay working in order to kind of see everything working in action. Okay. Let's go ahead and try to autoplay it. So we're going to go, all these sliders are linked together. I think if we just autoplay the content slide, which I need to actually select the content slider right here. We're going to go to options. Slider type is default. That's fine. Turn on autoplay. That's going to give us a new little section down here. The interval in milliseconds is going to be 10,000. We do want to pause on hover and pause on focus, but I'm not going to turn those on yet because we got to go one step at a time. You know, you change too many variables and things break and then you're like, which one broke it? I don't know. Then it's not great, right? So go one thing at a time. Work your way slowly and systematically to the solution. And right now I've just got my fingers crossed. I'm praying right now. Don't you love having good, solid components to work with? You love to see it. You love to see it. This is absolutely fantastic. It worked better than I thought it was going to work. I'll just be honest with you. Okay, so let's go to Zendesk.com and see what I'm noticing. Let's notice, okay, what do we have going on here? It's animating, it's animating, it's animating. There's something different about theirs versus ours. Their next one is going to go. There's a little delay. I don't think we need a delay. The one before stays active, stays marked. How are we going to approach that? Because I can style is previous. Does it get any sort of status? I know is previous. Well, it doesn't have all the other ones. We can use is visible, maybe, but no, that's not going to work. Okay, this may be one of those things where we skip it, we brainstorm it, we come back later. We don't let it get us bogged down. We don't let it get us bogged down. Let's see if we can tab through these. We can. But we're going to need to change our focus style. Look at that. That box shadow situation, that's something we can fix right now. That box shadow situation ain't going to fly. And I don't want the progress slider to be happening when we've interacted with it. So we need to add a bricks interaction. We need to add an interaction, probably a data attribute that says data, we'll call it data data. Naming things is hard. Naming things is hard. Okay, let's go to nav slide and let's add an interaction to this. We're going to say when this element is clicked, we're going to set an attribute called data autoplay. Data autoplay. Data autoplay. Off. Target CSS selector, nav slide. But what the heck is it called? Let's go out of here. Review slider, nav slide. Review slider, nav slide. Review slider, nav slide. Perfect. Save, refresh. Now we're going to inspect, and we're going to see if that actually happens. So when I click this, it should get a data attribute. There it is. Data autoplay equals off. Okay. So now I need to go into my CSS. So we're going to go up to our content review slider. Where were we? I'm trying to think. It's in the it's in the nav slider. CSS. It's in the nav slide CSS. Okay. Yes. Okay. So is active after, is active not. Let me think about how we're doing this. Root is active not, and then put our data autoplay equals off. I think this is gonna work. Okay, refresh. Okay, so that turns off the animation when any of these things are clicked. The problem is it's not going to, it's not going to, though it actually turns it off when it's focused as well, but it doesn't turn it all off. See, like when I go to when I focus on the next one, and we also got to fix this focus style right here. When I go to the next one, or I focus on any of these, it's still playing the animation on the other elements, right? So I think we need to go back to Bricks interactions, and we need to say when an element is focused, let's put another data attribute on the container. And actually, where did we, okay, so the data attribute is on root is active. That's actually not what we want to do. Let's go back to the Bricks interaction. So we have on click set attribute on the nav slide. No, we need to put this on the nav slider. So let's put that on nav slider and also duplicate it. Wait a minute. Oh, no, not delete, duplicate, and say on focus. Okay, set an attribute, data autoplay equals off, CSS selector, nav slider. Okay, so let's save. Let's go to the front end. All right, all right, all right. So now let's inspect this. So on our slider, or div up here, which one's our slider? Let's see. Oh, right here. Okay. Data autoplay equals off. Awesome. All right, now we need to, so we've got an interaction. So basically when one of these slides is clicked, it adds autoplay off to the whole entire slider parent right here. And when it's focused, it does the exact same thing. So now I need to go into the nav slide and say is active. I can take this not out. Okay. Is active after. Got it. Okay. That's back to the way that it was. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to go to the nav slider. We want to say nav slider data autoplay equals off. Put an I in there so we can make it case insensitive. So when this slider has data autoplay of off, we want to target the nav slide. So review slider, nav slide. That's what we want to target. And we want to turn the animation off. Animation none. Save. Okay. So if it has the data autoplay of off, animation goes away, more or less. Nav slide. I think we have to have is active though. Animation none. No. Hold on. Is active, animation none. I think we just want to do none. Let's just do important. Let's see if we can get this. I don't want specificity getting in the way. Oh, see, it's still animating. And the same thing is going to happen when I focus too, even though it has the data attribute of off. Let's add the is active. See if that stops it. No, it doesn't. Wow. Okay. Ah, it's the is active after. Okay. Nav slider is active after animation none. Refresh. Okay. Now we have no animation on any of our, once we've clicked. Now let's refresh again and see, once we focus, we also don't have an animation. And we can still go keyboard navigation. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now we need to fix the focus style. So we're going to go to the nav slide. We're going to come down here and say root focus box shadow none, outline none, and then we're going to add a style to it. And basically what we need to do is say root focus, then root before progress color is action. Save, refresh. Look, oh, okay. How about we important these, because these are, it's probably a specificity issue. Important, okay, here. Uh-oh. It's doing it on one of them, but not the others. Root focus, root before. Oh, it's root focus before. This is probably it. There we go. Okay. So now we've got focus styles. This is stuff that'll break your brain, guys. If you struggle with this kind of stuff, just trust me. It is stuff that will break your brain. What I want to do to just finish up is I want to make sure that we've got all of our HTML and stuff like that, and DOM structure, all that is good. So this is a P inside of a block quote. So here's the review block quote, which is a block quote. We've got a paragraph inside the block quote. We have, this one's going to be a footer, right? So HTML tag is footer. I got to go custom here. Remember, that's inside of a block quote, right? So it's the footer of a block quote. The name I've seen just have the span, and then this can have the site. This is going to have the site tag. And notice the site has, unfortunately, like default styling as well. So typography, we'll just say none there. Color, what are they doing with colors on theirs? It's the same color, it's just not bold, right? So let's go back to our base color. What is it doing? Is that like an opacity that it's put on there by default? Let's go to opacity 1. It was, wow, it puts an opacity on there by default. Okay, let's go to line height 1.1, bring that in. It looks like there's some sort of margin on the top. Yep, there is. What do we want to do here for the gap? Let's go like 0.25 em, something like that. Okay, save. All right, so this is HTML tag figure. Object fit. No, it doesn't need a cover or anything else like that. Logo. What we probably want to do is give it a dimension. Like, I know the logo has a dimension, but if somebody uploads a logo that has a different dimension, it's huge. We don't want it to blow everything up. So let's say 150 pixels, 250 pixels, 200 pixels, 200 CTR, convert that to rem. That's about the size. I mean, we can just measure it, I guess. So that is 180. We were very close. So 180 CTR. Now that's perfect. Okay. Excellent, 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 excellent. Okay. Inspect. There's our footer. There's our site tag right there. Okay. Now we're looking much, much, much better. All right. So that's all good. I think that these are probably go to accessibility, unordered list, which means our slides need to be LIs. So this needs to go to LI. This needs to go to LI. This needs to go to LI as well. This needs to go to LI as well. Okay, and then nav slider. Nav slides are already LIs. How about our media slider? Let's go to LIs here. LI, LI, and LI. Okay, awesome. And then our nav slider is getting a nav tag, and we want probably this to have an attribute of aria name, area, okay, spelled wrong. Aria name equals review. So it's gonna be announced as like review nav, okay? Save, refresh. Okay, let's check our nav. Here's our nav right here. And it's got an aria. Did it get the aria tag? Aria role equals region, role description equals carousel. Aria name equals review. Okay, and it's a nav tag. Perfect. All right. The other thing I can do, obviously, is just put the content in. So anticipate requests with AI. Anticipate. What is going on here? Anticipate requests with AI. Adapt to changing needs. Okay. It's kind of weird how they did this. Adapt to changing needs. I guess it's like pairing. These don't need to be headings either. You know, let's change these to spans. And font weight 700. Okay, let's change these to spans. Span and span. And span. All right, perfect. Adapt to changing needs. Oh, wait a minute. LI. Yeah, span, okay. What's the last one say? Make good decisions with data. Make good decisions with data. Save, refresh. Excellent. Okay, I think we've done enough, right? What we need to see, because we're going to do an episode where we make this dynamic, we make this dynamic, we make this dynamic, and that's where we're going to continue on with, any other challenges that arise. And we also have to tackle our whole header situation going on, okay? But again, I just said we wanted to tackle this right here because it's one of those areas where you can get really, really, really bogged down if you're not careful. So I wanted to knock that out, check that box. To me, this felt like it wasn't as fluid. It wasn't as straightforward as the other sections, but you got to give yourself grace, right? I'm going to give myself grace, and that this is a complicated thing going on here. There's a lot going on, a lot that has to be managed. Eventually we landed the plane, right? We landed the plane, and that's all that matters. Well, we've partially landed the plane. We've got like 2 other little challenges that we still have to overcome, but I'm happy with the progress that we made in this session, and I look forward to session number 4. Until then, peace.